feels good. It feels good to see the ball go through the net. But I think, every game, regardless, you're making shots, you're not, it feels really, really good to have your teammates behind you, and I definitely feel that every day. And
oh man, I haven't played point guard. I was telling the girls I haven't played point guard maybe since college, and so that was different. But I think I don't know, it brings out the vulnerable side of me.
The crowd was behind us today. It's fun to walk out of the gym on a high note and on a make, and yeah, I saw the time going down, so I was trying to pull out my inner Kelsey Mitchell.
How does a player go from 2 for 25 to 4 for 6 in one night? Lexie Hull just showed us. Without Caitlin Clark, the Fever's offense looked like it might collapse. Instead, Hull lit up Chicago from deep. Kelsey Mitchell turned into a facilitator out of nowhere, and the team dropped 92 points. But the real story isn't the score. It's what sparked Hull's transformation, and why the Fever are suddenly a playoff threat. Before we move on, I will like you to subscribe to the channel and like the video. How does someone go from hitting 2 threes in 25 tries to looking like the most automatic shooter in the building? That's the twist with Lexie Hull. For weeks, every long-range shot she took seemed to rim out. It wasn't just a rough stretch. It was game after game watching the ball bounce away. The lowest point? That one for 11 nightmare against Phoenix. You could see it on her face during warm-ups after that. She wasn't sulking, but there was that quiet kind of frustration players carry when they're working.
I think for me, it's focusing on doing the right thing, taking the right shots, being in the right place, focusing less on the outcome of things. Missed shots happen. It's going to happen in everyone's career.
Man, I don't know. That LA one felt good for us because we didn't quit. And then, life happened the other night at the Valley. So we could have looked at it like, oh, woe is me. And, we don't have enough players. And we didn't.
Kelsey's not giving herself enough credit. Her and Sophie putting themselves before the team, making sure that they're sacrificing, playing out of position, doing things that they don't normally do, maybe uncomfortable, but I think they both really did a great job of
doing everything right and still getting nothing back on the scoreboard. Going into the Chicago game, Clark was on the bench in street clothes, and Hull knew eyes would be on other guards to pick up the slack. Most players in her situation start pressing, trying to force their way out of a slump. Hull didn't. She kept her routine the same, came out with the same form on her shot. The difference was she wasn't overthinking. She talked before about not letting bad games shrink your confidence, and this night was the big test of that. The first break came on a corner 3 early in the first half. Clark was watching from the sideline, clapping as the ball dropped, and you could almost feel the tension leave Hull's shoulders. That single make was like cracking the first hole in a wall that had been holding her back. The more she moved through the offense after that, the lighter she looked, like each step had less weight on it. Think about a dam holding back a huge buildup of water. One crack turns into a stream, and before you know it, everything rushes through at once. That's what happened with her rhythm. Sports psychologists talk about how shooters in a slump often focus so much on not missing that they freeze up, but when they finally see one go in, their brain shifts to trusting muscle memory again. That's the switch Hull flipped, and her teammates helped. She wasn't hunting bad shots, she was getting set up perfectly. Passes right in her shooting pocket, time to square up, everything the way a shooter wants it. Every make added another layer of confidence. You could see it in her footwork. No unnecessary hop steps, no hesitation pump fakes on open looks. She was catching and releasing in one smooth motion. By the second half, the Sky defenders weren't sagging off her anymore. You could see them pointing and yelling to pick her up in transition. That's when you know a shooter has gotten inside the other team's head. When the horn sounded, the numbers told the story. 17 points, 4 for 6 from beyond the arc. This wasn't a case of random heat check shots falling, it was precision. The result of a mental reset, trust in the work she'd put in, and a team making sure she got the right looks. She didn't force, she didn't rattle, she just played. And here's the wild part. None of this happens without the Fever reimagining how they'd run their offense without their usual floor leaders. Hull's shots came in rhythm because the team moved differently that night, thanks to a role change no one expected to work as well as it did. Caitlin Clark was out. Every point guard on the Fever's roster was either injured or unavailable. If you had drawn it up before tip-off, this looked like the perfect setup for a disaster. passer, no floor general to control the pace, no natural playmaker to get everyone involved, and against a Chicago team aggressive enough to make turnovers hurt. For most teams, that's when the offense just falls apart. But instead of letting the night turn into survival mode, Indiana built something completely different in less than 24 hours. Coach Stephanie White could have just patched holes and told her scorers to figure it out. Instead, she took the riskier route. She ran the game by committee. That meant bigger lineups, players sliding into roles they haven't had in years, and everyone being responsible for moving the ball. It wasn't about one person dominating the touches. It was constant movement, forcing the Sky to defend more space and more options. The biggest shift came from Kelsey Mitchell. She's been wired to score since her Ohio State days. She's lightning quick, she thrives one-on-one, and she rarely looks to pass first. But with no other true point guards left, she had to become the floor leader. This wasn't just a few extra dribbles and a couple of assists. This was a full game of reading defenses, setting up teammates, calling out plays, and making decisions about tempo. First time she's had to do that since college, and she did it against a team that knew her reputation as a scorer. That's exactly why there was so much pressure here. Chicago's defense expected Mitchell to force shots. If that had happened, the Fever's possessions would have been short, predictable, and easy to counter. But she flipped the script completely. 8 assists, her season high, with most of them leading to wide open looks. She found Hull on the wing at just the right moments. She hit Christy Wallace in motion for easy pull-ups. She threaded passes into Nalissa Smith when the help shifted over. And Grace Cunningham. 2 of her cleanest catch-and-shoot threes all year came off Mitchell's setups. Of course, none of this works without Aaliyah Boston anchoring the paint. She didn't have to drop a massive stat line to keep everything stable. She screened, she post-sealed, she grabbed contested boards, and she drew the kind of help defense that opened windows for the shooters. Every time the Sky tried to pack the lane, that's when the Fever's perimeter players punished them. The ball movement was the other thing you couldn't miss. Indiana averaged far more passes per possession than their season norm and hit double figures in made threes. It wasn't isolation after isolation. It was swing passes, extra passes, inside-out action, and when one option got shut down, the ball didn't stick, it just kept moving. That kind of unselfishness isn't the default when you've lost your best playmaker, but it was their identity in this one. By the final buzzer, this wasn't a grinded-out escape, it was a statement. 92-70, a 22-point win without the rookie phenom who gets all the headlines, without a natural point guard on the floor, and with a completely reworked offensive plan. It's the kind of result that tells you the team culture is bigger than one star. So here's the real question. If they can dismantle a playoff level opponent like this without Clark, what happens when they add her back into an offense that now knows how to score in so many different ways? This wasn't just a hot shooting night. It was proof the Fever can throw out the usual plan, adjust on the fly, and still crush a good team. That kind of depth doesn't happen by accident. Coach White said they're resilient, connected, and that alone is worth 10 to 12 points a game. If they can dominate like this without Clark, imagine what happens when she comes back to a roster that now knows how to win in multiple ways. That's what makes them dangerous. The underdog that learns to win without its star is the last team you want healthy.